Hey, sports porchers, it's your hockey Jesus, and I'm back with my friend Scott, and we're going to talk a little hockey. We are going to talk about the Brayden Yager trade. That's enough of the music. Let's get right to this trade, Scotty. I just want to introduce you to my folk out there. Hockey Jesus is back. I know. It's not hockey season, it's football season. You're probably trying to get your fantasy football team together. Well, you got to take a little break from the spreadsheets. You got to check out the hockey Jesus. I brought my friend Scott with me. He's from Minnesota, but he's a die-hard Penguins fan. I've grown up with him. We've been watching hockey since the middle 80s together. Scotty, how you doing, man? What's going on?
I'm doing great, man. Glad to be back in the Berg. Yeah, as Steve said, lived in Minnesota for a little while. So thrilled to see a kid from the Big Ten coming to the Pittsburgh Penguins.
How about that? So let's just get right into it. Brayden Yager today by Kyle Dubas traded him for Rutger McGroarty. You might say, who is this Rutger McGroarty? Why is he a Pittsburgh Penguin now? Why did we have to trade our number one prospect for a guy named Rutger? Well, here's why. Rutger played for Michigan for the past 3 years. He's a big guy, 6'1", 205 pounds. So, hey, he is more of a bull than he is, the finesse guy that Jaeger was. And let's face it, they're doing this because they're trying to get away from the finesse. They recognize that the Florida Panthers just won the Stanley Cup, right? And who do they win it with? They won it with some guys who like to, brawl in the corners, the Kachucks of the world. And they recognize that this is a copycat league because it is, right? And they got enough talent, so why not go out and get a guy like Rutger McGroarty? What do you know about him, Scotty?
I think in addition to to your point about playing at Michigan, he played at the National Team Development Program, which is really the proving ground for the elite of the elite among American-born players, and also captained the U.S. U19 team to gold this year, where he played an enormous role in it. So obviously, if he was captain of that team, he has some leadership qualities. Also served as an assistant captain in Michigan, plays a real straight line game, and I think is going to bring some needed grit and moxie to the Pittsburgh Penguin lineup.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is just this is just a good hockey trade. Look, here's the deal. Here's why he was available for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Winnipeg would not bring him into their development. He wants to play in the NHL. And last year, I guess he was doing a little bit of complaining about not being able to come up. He really wanted to play in the NHL last year. So he went back to Michigan and actually just grew his game even more. Scored more points. He had a total of 91 points in 75 games for Michigan. And just last year, his point per game total. I don't know if it doubled, but it definitely increased. So every year in Michigan, he got better at what he does, and he just feels like he's ready for the NHL. And I think that's why the Penguins went to get him, because let's face it, the Penguins need some young players to be able to be ready for the NHL, and they like Brayden Yager. They didn't think that Brayden Yager wasn't any good. He's just a different type of player. You see the same way, Scotty?
That's right. Dubas had the seemingly impossible task of making this team better now, as the core obviously is aging, and I think basically we saw Brayden Yager being at least a year away by most accounts, and McGroarty by comparison is ready now, it seems, and really wanted to play, and obviously signed immediately as soon as this trade was announced, and it's good to be excited about hockey in August.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm thrilled that Dubas is still making moves. I think the fact that he's still making moves and haven't signed Sidney Crosby yet, which I'd like to get to before we jump off this line about the Sidney Crosby non-signing yet. I think it just shows that Dubas wants to make all the moves he can before he finally gets Sid to lock in for however many years he's going to lock in for the Penguins. I believe that's what's going on with that contract with Sid. Do you think, and speaking of Sid, do you think Rutger's got a chance to play with Sid at all? He does play both left wing and the center position. So it is possible, that Raquel, and they've tried to trade Raquel before in the past. Not that I think they would trade Raquel at this point. I think we need his talent up on that first line. Do you think he'll get some stints up there with Sid on occasion?
Yeah, I think they'll definitely work him in at some point, assuming he starts with the big club from the get go. I do think that a young player like this, you really want to ease him in, and probably not put too much pressure there. I think also the interesting thing is he's done quite well on the power play. Loves to go to the front of the net. Is a great distributor. For those interested in looking at tape and film that's out there on the internet, I found his playmaking ability to be really, really high. I thought his vision was great on the power play, moving the puck and really controlling the situation. And I'm not going to say that he's going to be a power play specialist at 20 years old, but obviously, we all saw Jake in front of the net the last several years, especially since Horny left, and Jake
Right.
getting pummeled and beat to a pulp in front of the net. So we need somebody who's going to be, a little stronger, more durable, willing to go there.
Yeah, we even saw that at the end of last year when they signed Bunning, right? It was the same type of deal where Bunning wasn't afraid to get to the front of the net. And even if he's not scoring there, at least he's causing some havoc. And it's making that goalie rethink about the shots that maybe Gino or Sid or Letang or even Carlson are taking from the point. And I think that's a big advantage when you have a big body like that in front. Hell, we watched it in the 90s, whenever Stevens, the big dog was there right in front. And I think that just makes all the difference to having a more well-rounded team. And that's what I like most about this trade. I think they're getting different talent basically at the same price.
I think that's right. I think he fits a lot more. I mean, as others have been saying online and commenting. And to me, the big thing is I thought about Coach Baalsma today, and back in the Baalsma era, he always liked to say that he wanted sandpaper. He wanted guys that were hard to play against, and
Yeah.
things changed over time, and Coach Sullivan, to his credit, with the teams in 16 and 17, really, the game was about speed. And as you pointed out, it's changed a little bit again, and now it's a little bit more about power and grit. And the Penguins have lacked those guys, and this guy's got size, and Brayden Yager, not exactly a big skater. And I think also Brayden Yager was really blocked, being a natural and true center, whereas McGroarty, plays the wing. So
Yeah.
there's not an issue there. So really, we needed a legit top nine winger more than we needed a top, a top three down the middle center.
Yeah, I agree with that entirely. How do you think Sully's going to deal with McGroarty? You really think he's going to be able to bring him in a camp and make him part of that third line right away, or do you think he's going to he's going to want to send him down the Wilkes-Barre and have him spend some time there? My fear is that he's going to play okay, but Sully's not going to feel comfortable enough because we're going to have some veteran that's going to come in like Bolivier, and he's going to want to play him instead. Do you think Dubas is going to Sully saying, "Look, we got to make this move. You got to start playing these young kids"? How do you think that's going to play out?
Yeah, I really hope that you know
Well,
there's a legitimate shot given here, because I think some of the knock that you've heard, Steve, and others have commented on this. The skating here is a little bit of a weakness, and that may seemingly be a liability, for a fast forechecking game. But at the same time, I don't think we want, career, fourth line guys. I mean, at some point you got to play him. And, there's pretty high level quality of hockey in the Big Ten. And you look at the number of first round picks that have been able to quickly make that transition after a year or two playing Big Ten hockey.
Right.
And you have to trust that process. So you have to give him a chance to play. And I think that, they're not going to want to bring him up here and do the Sam Poulin thing. And, he's only going to play 6 minutes a game, right?
Right.
They're going to have to at least play him on the third line. So to me, that's where it comes down to, where they think he fits in with some of these other acquisitions, because it seems to me, just as a kind of as a hockey dad, never having played the game, but watched a ton, and it seems to me we have like 2 fourth lines right now,
Mm-hmm.
and we have a good first line and a pretty good solid second line. The third line is the area we really need to improve. So hopefully that works out here.
Yeah,
Uh,
one thing that I didn't bring to my disciples was the fact that we got Cody Glass too. So we really have two third, fourth line centers with him and Lars Eller. Either can play either position really when you think about it. So I think you're right when you say that we have two fourth lines. I'm just hoping that bringing some youth into those lines can make one more of a third line scoring line than a fourth line checking line. Would you agree with that?
yeah, and I think Drew O'Connor did well in limited time on the top line last year. But Drew O'Connor probably never is going to be a 30 goal guy, and I
Yeah.
think the scouts have suggested that McGroarty is a potential 60 to 70 point guy.
Hmm.
So maybe he can score 30 goals. He has a good shot. Again, the thing that surprised me when I looked more at some film is the playmaking ability. So I think that's there as well. But to me, it's about the Penguins changing that style. And I think another example of that is, I think the selection of Tanner Howe, who was taken in the second round this year, and was Connor Bedard's line mate. And it was great. The first interview that I saw of him, when he was asked about coming to Pittsburgh, they said, Connor Bedard says you're kind of a prick, and he said, yeah, I love that identity.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I guess this is a PG-13 rated show, but we need more pricks in the Pittsburgh Penguin lineup.
Oh no, we need more assholes. That's what we need. I'm just going to go right to R-rated on that because
Yeah.
we need guys like Kachuk who you just hate playing against them, right? That's exactly what we need. And the sooner they can get up here, the better. Let's have let's have one last conversation. I need you to tell me your thoughts on this Sid Contract situation. What do you think is going on?
Yeah, I think, Sid is a creature of habit. So I just think that, in today's social media environment, and, we all live and wallow in our own paranoia, and, something doesn't happen on July 1st. And with each passing day, you just think, oh my God, what's happening? It'd be pretty inconceivable for me, for Sid, not to sign. I mean, simply because it was so important for him to play with Gino and Tanger, and those guys signing. I mean, it's just implausible to me, that he wouldn't sign. But obviously, Sid has every right. I think so much is made of non-action. I mean, at least. At least we're not talking about Sid the way that we're talking about the Steelers' pursuit of a wide receiver who probably was never going to come here anyway. So sorry.
No, that's fine. I get the parallelisms there for sure. I agree with you. Look, Sid can do whatever he wants to do. Sid is the king of this team. If he wants to sign a 2 or 3 year contract like everybody thinks he's going to, or if he wants to walk away after the game after this year, he can do what he wants. He's won his cups here. We would love him to make another run at it, right? Everybody wants that to happen. The NHL wants that to happen. But he's not going to do it by himself. He's not going to do it with just those teammates that you mentioned. He's going to need good young talent, and I'm hoping that this Rutger McGroarty somehow is a piece of that puzzle that makes Sid want to stay a little bit longer and see how it works out in the end. Final thoughts?
I again, I just say it's really exciting to be talking about hockey in August in a meaningful way, and I know, the team really, really liked Brayden Yager, and it's just a strange turn of events, but I think this works out really well for the organization.
I agree. I think it's exactly what the organization needs. I think it's a good trade for both franchises. I think Winnipeg's going to get a talented younger kid who may not be ready for a couple years, but I think giving him some time, he can really develop his skating, and I think he can turn into a really good scorer in this league. I'm glad he's going to be in Winnipeg. To be honest with you, I'm glad that Rutger is now coming to Pittsburgh, and hey, maybe him and Skeens can go out for some beers. What do you think? Well, sorry, Rector, you're going to have to wait another year, I guess.
Yeah, I just hope that McGroarty doesn't have a famous girlfriend because then we're gonna have to hear about that.
Oh, I think the more famous girlfriends, the better in my world. But that's just the hockey Jesus. Hey, Scotty, thanks for the help tonight. I'm going to hit the music here, but before I do that, hey, if you like what you hear on the porch, you know where to go. You hit that subscribe button wherever the hell it is. I think, Scott, it's down by you. Push down there. I think the subscribe button is down by you today. So hit that subscribe button. You'll get hockey all summer long. And you know I'm going to be back in the fall. By the way, I hope you stuck around for those NHL playoffs. I really enjoyed that. I love watching the Florida Panthers raise that cup. I love giving you play-by-play along the way. And until we get back to the porch, I will say goodbye for now. See you, Scotty.